Hey everybody, Byron here. Just wanted to give you the heads up that we do not have a main episode dropping today. However, we did have a very entertaining session of Class Kangaroo Court in which we relitigated the Haunted Mansion. So for all you FYA Holes who contributed to that live stream, thank you so much. And we figured that since the theme of it all is on par with spooky season, we were just going to drop this episode to everyone because it was a really fun night and we want to have it out there. But once again, thank you for all you FYA Holes that contributed in the chats, major polls, and helped get the verdict that this attraction received. And I believe justice was served in that process. So for anyone that is completely confused, I guess, for that matter, of what Class Kangaroo Court is, you'll get an idea of it here in this episode. We do it once a month with our members at FYApod.com. And of course, thank you to all our supporters that are already on there. One of the highlights of our every month for us. So thanks again. And we're looking forward to everyone kind of checking this one out. And if you're ever interested in becoming an FYA hole yourself and getting in on some of these court sessions, if you will, you could head over to FYApod.com. It's always a really good time. It's always fun chatting with you all. And always talking rides. So take care and enjoy this one, and we'll get back to main episodes in the spooky realm next week.
Welcome to Class Kangaroo Court, a show where we relitigate an attraction we've already covered in the world-class tests on for-your amusement to keep balance in the universe and to audit our verdicts. And this week we bring to court Haunted Mansion on this spooky October evening. And each of these 10 tests were voted on in polls by you guys over on FYApod.com this past week. And now Byron and I will re-vote ourselves with your combined vote counting for 1. Please make your arguments in the chat as to why you voted the way you did, and Byron and I might air out a couple takes as we consider our newly recasted votes. And as always, we'll also be reading out some priority arguments that were commented on FYApod.com by all of you e-ticketers. But here we go. Haunted Mansion, a favorite. Let's kill some babies, huh? No, I'm going to protect the mansion with all my heart. I'm going to protect it. It's going to be very, very good. How do you feel about this one, Byron? Before we jump in here, what is the current score of the Haunted Mansion as it stands right now based on our court session with Dallin, a.k.a. Offhand Disney?
Well, this was our third ever episode of FYA.
Wow.
So we're, I think, 93 or 94 episodes later? Or 92
insane.
Episodes or so later. So
oh my God.
I think we were green to this whole FYA thing
Yes.
at that point. So I figured that since it was the Halloween season and the tests have changed, we're on V2 of the world class tests. Oh, wait. So they're giving me they're saying go louder on my mic. Hold on. How about now? How we doing? Better?
It's hard to imagine that mic going any low because it's shining bright. It looks like it would be the loudest microphone on earth. It kind of looks like the Entity from that shitty Mission Impossible movie that they put in the hard drive at the end.
It looks really high-tech, cool, and special, but it is a $30 microphone.
I see.
Amazon. What was I saying? Oh, yeah.
You were talking about how the tests are different now.
We're 2 years. Changed. We're 2 years. Almost exactly. Actually, this came out Halloween of 2023. That's horrifying.
Jesus Christ. That's a long time ago.
And since we are on V2, I figured this could be an opportunity for it to potentially get more points. It could potentially even slip. I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see it losing its world. That'd be a real twist. I don't see it losing world class status.
Wait, where was it? What was it at again? Out of 10?
80%. I believe it got
8. That's crazy.
I believe it was 8.
Okay. Well, we'll see if we could get higher than that. It seems like it should be easy to get above.
I can double check it. Maybe it was 9, but I think it was 8 from what I recall.
I believe you're right. Well, either way, why don't we go ahead and jump into the first test, everybody. And for everybody who's this is their first court session, welcome in to our esteemed jury. We're going to be needing you today, and your voice in particular in the chat. But without further ado, let's begin. Oh! I'm so scared. My earbuds. The average tourist test. Does the experience of this ride justify the average wait time? And at Disneyland, that's 31 minutes. Over at Magic Kingdom, that is 34 minutes.
And this does not include Haunted Mansion Holiday, which notoriously has a much larger average wait time than the OG regular Haunted Mansion.
That's correct. There was 163 votes cast over on FYApod.com with a 90% pass. Not really a surprise there. Let's immediately jump into some priority arguments from you e-ticketers, starting with the top comment, which comes from Mr. Price. Maybe that's Vincent himself. The quintessential Disney attraction. If this shit was an average hour and you've never been, you gotta do it. I agree. Strange says, is this even a debate, boys? I think that's kind of obvious what he's they're alluding to right there. David and Rachel H., especially at Magic Kingdom, there are a few other rides that are more worth the wait. It's so easy to get a Lightning Lane to as well. It would be a travesty to skip this ride. Disco Yeti, I feel like I would be more willing to give this a pass if the wait was more like 20 minutes. So it was mostly spent in the interactive portion of the queue. Just kidding. Of course, this is a pass. You got me worried there for a little bit, Disco Yeti. I was like, what is happening? Sherry Krabby Pelly says, who is failing this? And I also am wondering who's failing this. So I'd love to hear you in the chat. If you are one of the people that failed this test, I'd love to hear the argument. But while I'll give you time to do that, Byron, why don't you go ahead and react to that verdict?
It's an overwhelming pass, at least from the jury. That being said, 90 does honestly kind of feel a little low. Surprising that there's 10%. I feel like this is just one of the softball ones for this attraction, because I mean, not to step on the toes of perhaps another test that's coming up, but a lot of the experience is in the queue itself, in that 30 minutes. And yeah, I think just the whole experience is definitely worth it. And for any average tourist, I mean, it's unique enough. It's got all these fun bells and whistles. I don't see it even at an hour. I think I would be willing. I think just because it is such a unique experience.
We're talking about a 30-minute wait time here, which is curious. And JJ Feig says, if you failed it, you're too scared to speak. That's JJ Feig's throwing down the gauntlet there. And I normally do discourage any kind of nastiness in this court, but I do think it's warranted here, so I will allow it. But just know, JJ, that my gavel is in my holster right now, and I don't want to have to pull it out. But yes, I do want to see if somebody is willing to say why, because I personally feel like 30 minutes in this line, which is very well themed, especially now with the re-theme over in Disneyland, and you get the ambiance of the mansion, and if you consider the pre-show room, the elevator, the hallway, all of that part of the queue, which I do, I mean, we're talking about one of the most immersive pre-shows in queues, at least in the early days of theme parks, that kind of set the stage for, you know, the crazier experiences that we have now. So I just feel like 30 minutes, that's a pretty good deal for what I consider a must-ride DNA attraction for Disneyland. And Haunted Mansion over in Magic Kingdom. Frankly, every mansion I've been on in every park, whether it's Disneyland Paris, or it's over in Tokyo. I haven't been able to go on Mystic Manor over, I believe, in Hong Kong. So
completely different ride.
Yeah, but all of these feel amazing, and you gotta ride them. I mean, Phantom Manor in Paris, it's a little bit of a different flavor, but it's still at its core a very base. At the base package, the same ride as all these other ones, with each of the sensibilities built in. So, and they all feel like they're well worth over 30 minutes. I personally feel like if you go to Disneyland, you don't get on Haunted Mansion. It's almost like you kind of, I feel like you have to kind of go back. I don't know if you really got the full experience, unless the ride was closed or something like that. But 30 minutes, I think that's very affordable. Good deal. So, again, I'm scrolling through the comments right here because I do want to see if somebody's willing to come out to play here, because I'm not seeing. Maybe they were.
This is one of those like Mount Rushmore of Disney, like classic Disney, like Disneyland attractions.
I see.
Like when you think like some of the most iconic attractions.
Some people are saying that folks might have accidentally failed it. That's a lot for it to be like 10%.
10% is a lot.
10% is a lot. That would be what, at least 16 people? Yeah, at least 16 people accidentally failing.
To be fair, these polls happen over the weekend. A little bit of a little drinking maybe going on here. A little late night.
If you're suggesting for 1 second that our esteemed members of the jury would be drinking on the job, I'd urge you to reconsider.
I've literally seen chats here, multiple chats tonight, in which they've cracked beers. So
Taco Tuesday, perhaps. Anyways, I do think that I'm going to side with the jury here, and I am going to pass this one. Byron, what do you got?
Yeah, it's an easy pass.
Hell yeah. That's a pass. Moving on. We're moving on because it is now test number 2. We are 1 for 1, though. This is a great start. Good work, everybody. Let's move on to the smartphone test. Now, does the queue of this ride have enough to keep you off of your phone? Not literally, but does the queue offer enough immersion to keep you entertained? We have 159 votes here, 74% pass once again. We are now starting 2 for 2. Let's go immediately to some priority arguments, starting with the top comment, which comes from Strange. I truly do love the Haunted Mansion queue at Disneyland so much, but let's be honest, regardless of how aesthetic or vibey it really is just switchbacks with some cool decor. The mansion itself is very pleasing to look at, but if we're being true to the rubric and the question itself, I would say that this is a fail. There is just not enough engaging elements of the queue to keep one off of their phone entirely. Unfortunate, but true in my opinion. This also got 3 likes, by the way. Archie SA says the order of pass to fail swap between test 1 and test 2. Okay. Jasmine, Disco Yeti. We go over to Disco Yeti. I'd have given this a pass even way back with it. When it was hardly more than the punny gravestones. The ambiance is immaculate. I could see failing this maybe in the past, which I do believe we did in the past, but this new queue, there is a significant effort to make that outdoor queue a little bit more bearable. I know that's
I believe we got it over the line the first time.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess it's not that crazy. I love this ride. Bring Back Bugs Land says, this is funny name. This queue will always be one of my favorites. And welcome in, Bring Back Bugs Land. When I was a little kid, my dad and I would wait for this ride, and he'd dramatically read every single tombstone, and we'd laugh, regardless of how many times we'd seen them. We still do the same thing 20 years later, and that's amazing. And then finally, we will go to Mr. Price. I could speak for Florida's version. The extended queue has little gags and things to mess around with, which is always fun. You can find shoe and dog prints referencing the caretaker and his dog, a man who murdered a game and a hidden wedding ring in the ground. I'm not sure what happened at the end there, but I tried to make the best of it. But I believe that the backstory of the caretaker and his dog is somebody who I guess got murdered. Maybe somebody could help me with that one. But either way, Byron, reactions to that while I hop into the live chat, especially I would say to what Strange had pointed out.
I get the argument there. That being said, I think the setting that they create is strong enough. Like, yes, if you're going to take it extremely literally, if you're waiting in over half an hour, like outside in switchbacks, even if there are interesting things to read and pick up, you're going to look at your phone. But I think, like, in the spirit of what the test is trying to say is, like, is there an effort there? Can you find stuff to enjoy? Can you soak it in throughout your queue experience? I think they've done that. And now that Disneyland has got the updated queue, I mean, I think it makes it even more of a pass for Disneyland. But even the Florida version, where I have waited outside numerous times, I didn't mind it.
We got somebody from the chat chiming in, similar to what Strange is talking about. And it's interesting because this person's username is Cadaverous Pallor, which is obviously from the VO of Haunted Mansion. So this is a Mansion fan. Here's what Cadaverous Pallor has to say. This was a fail for me due to the Disneyland queue, unfortunately. While I love taking in the ambiance, the switchbacks in the outdoor area, in my opinion, aren't enough to keep me entertained. Stretching room on. And actually, let me just get the rest of that comment there, because stretching room on is great, but that's only 20% of the wait. I do see the argument there that it is a lot of, I love the phrase vibey switchbacks. It's pretty funny. But it is essentially vibey switchbacks out there. I mean, they have put in more effort to make it more of a continuous theme or telling a story of some sort now. But even still, it is tough to sit in those switchbacks, and the wait from the stretching room on is pretty limited. That being said, I think on the other side, 30 minutes is not that long of a line. So even if you are in the switchbacks out there, you're probably only waiting in them for like 10, 15 minutes. And now, because they have added extra theming with like the greenhouse and all the other elements, I do think that, I don't know, I think this does pass. I don't think it's like a resounding pass, but I think in the spirit of the test, there was clearly effort put in here. So I personally would pass it. But what do you have, Byron?
You're always moving in this queue as well.
For the most part, if
so
things
it's
are
not like you're stuck in a spot,
yeah,
getting bored looking at the same thing for too long. So I it's not quite the slam dunk of a queue, because I think there's plenty of other queues out there where, 70-80% of the footpath is doing, telling some crazy story, or doing the Indiana Jones shit. But I still think this is easily like a well above average queue. And at the end of the day, even when you're in those switchbacks, you're standing like at the base of that iconic mansion.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is a really funny comment. I'm surprised that more people are vocal about this not being perhaps a pass. Steve says, I don't think the outside portion has enough with the Home Depot and Spirit Halloween decor. And Jake says, agree.
I think that's a little harsh.
That's a wild take. Are y'all trolling? That has to be trolling. I mean, I do know that they put some BS decorations in that Madame Leota store, but somebody in here had... Oh, sorry, go Byron.
That's not part of the queue.
No, I'm saying that, like, it's next door, though, so I could see, like, the trickle-over effect of, like, that being in your mind. That, maybe, but these are pretty good decorations. It feels weird to even call them decorations, because it's, a theming, but...
Yeah, you want to find those, go on Curse of the Werewolf.
That's true. Carly says, I literally saw stretching room posters at a Comic-Con last weekend. That's iconic. And that's a good point, because I can't think of many other rides in which parts of the queue are arguably more iconic than a lot of the ride. Like, when people think of the Haunted Mansion, they think of the stretching room. They think of the portrait hallway. They think of the statues that follow you. And that is all queue. I mean, that alone should tell you that, like, yes, there are some dead spots. There's dead spots in every queue. And unlike those other queues, like, say, Rise of the Resistance, where you're stuck in those caves forever, Haunted Mansion has actually acknowledged some of that and tried to improve upon that portion of the queue, at least in Disneyland. Haunted Mansion over in Magic Kingdom already had interactive elements. So, I don't know. I feel like this is a pass, but I do get the arguments. And no, that was an unintentional pun. No, the dead spots. But Byron, what do you got here? You agree with the jury?
I agree with the majority of the jury, yes. The 74, 75%, I'm with it's a pass on my end. Look, it's not, I don't think it's the best queue in the world, just because there is a large portion of it that is outside, but I never have a hard time in it, and I always enjoy it. And honestly, I'm rarely on my phone. I'm soaking it in. And I'm not even like a big spooky person all year round type of person, but
That's
the
true.
place to do it.
Well, that is a pass then. So we are now at 2 for 2, moving on to test number 3, which is the Tony Stark test. How innovative is this attraction? Does it push theme park tech forward? We have 156 votes, with 67% passing this attraction. Moving to some priority arguments right away. We go over to Tambi. It may not have been the first Omnimover ride, but I think the stretching room in a moving haunted house is innovative. It was supposed to be a walk through haunted house initially, so that I'm not sure if you probably were aware of that already, but I mean that you kind of sensed what they were going for. Joe Likes Disney says, I feel like every argument for it, Pirates did it first. Oof, I see what they're saying. So Joe is saying that like all the things that are innovative, Pirates did them first. Curious, I'd love to meditate on that for a bit. Ferris Wheel says, this ride is innovative in the same way that Rise of the Resistance is, in that it is a synthesis of pre-existing techniques that put together are more than the sum of their parts. Haunted Mansion is the impetus of modern show methodology, of precise lighting control combined with state-of-the-art, for the day, animatronic technology and special effects. Almost all modern attractions take lessons from the Mansion. I think it's pretty well said. And I'd be curious how that, adheres to the test wording and the spirit of the test, but that is a good point. David and Rachel H. Being fair, this ride combined tech from a lot of other rides. Did it perfect them? Maybe. But innovative? Maybe not. We failed it, even though it hurts. Disco Yeti says, I know we want this ride to be perfect and get a 10 out of 10, but it's not particularly innovative. All the tech used was already tried and true, and the Mansion can't be faulted for that, but it would be wrong to say that it pushed tech forward. Yeah, I mean, Strange, this is an interesting, I don't know if this is like what they're going for, but Strange says, I passed this for the Hatbox Ghost alone, since he's a cool-ass motherfucker. I will say that the Hatbox Ghost, it's up for debate whether or not it was actually there on opening day. I know I've seen prop cards, when janitors have to go and do maintenance on all the different show scenes and props. They have numbered cards that have the numbered props on them. Hatbox Ghost, there was an entry for it in some of those old cards. I haven't held it in my hand, but I've seen it on the internet, and we all know the internet never lies. But I can't say definitively that the Hatbox Ghost was there back in the day, or if it was maybe made but never put out on the show floor, or maybe put on the show floor for like a week because it wasn't working. There's a whole bunch of lore for that. I'm sure Dallin has spoken exhaustively about that at this point. But Byron, reactions to all that while I hop into the chat.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I agree. I think multiple mentions about the projection mapping of Madame Leota. That was one of the first uses of projection mapping, if not the first for a ride. Obviously, when it comes to the ride system itself, Adventure Through Inner Space predated it with the Omnimover system. So yes. I can't really get it over the edge there, but projection mapping, which Disney uses time and time again in the modern age, is a big deal. The illusions that Yale Gracie brought to life in the ride, yes, a lot of those tricks had been done as early as like the 1800s or something like that, maybe even earlier. But to have them executed in unique ways for a ride, I don't think that had been done before. And I think it's like you mentioned earlier in the argument, is that I think a lot of tricks from this attraction have influenced rides going forward. And the argument of Pirates of the Caribbean doing it before Haunted Mansion, like in regards to like creating like a grand scale dark ride and like kind of the cocktail party effect and having all the animatronics and stuff, sure, and like in the music, what have you. But I don't think Pirates of the Caribbean, especially when opening in 67? Yeah, 67. I don't know. I don't think it was putting the same amount of effort into creating illusions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm curious about even Pepper's Ghost, because Pepper's Ghost I know was used on stage, but it was never used in like a larger theme park attraction, in which, my recollection.
And you're not putting your audience, it was like in a theater or something. So in this case, they have this like 30-foot tall plexiglass that they are
Yes.
moving riders across like over 100 feet or so. Like that display, I think, is innovative enough in itself to give this a pass. And you have the projection mapping and whatever.
Sure.
The amount, like, you're sold on all this stuff they're offering you.
I mean, to put this in perspective, I was in Amsterdam for my anniversary with my wife, and we went to the Museum of Design over there. No, actually, I believe that was in Denmark, right next to Efteling, or no, Tivoli. And we went to this museum, and there was actually a little exhibit on Pepper's ghost, believe it or not, and it was showing samurai ghosts that were used in like Japan using the same illusion, and in the placard itself, it referenced Haunted Mansion, I believe, of like, this is, you know, of where you've seen this before. To me, that would suggest that, like, I don't believe there has been any attraction, like moving attraction, in which this has been implemented. Because like Byron pointed out, when you're in a theater, you're locked down in terms of field of view. They know where you're going to be looking. Whereas Haunted Mansion, it's a much more 360-degree experience, so they had to do the whole the rigmarole with the giant-ass window to get it done.
And then even the end of the ride, it's like to project the ghost figure with like the Pepper's ghost on your moving vehicle and have it synced up so it's moving along with your moving vehicle. That's something else.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, even some of the physical effects that, you know, are using practical props, like something like, if any of you have seen the classic haunted movie The Haunting, one of the scariest scenes in that movie is when they're all huddled in the parlor and there is ghosts trying to get into the house, and the force of them hitting the doors is so much that the doors start to bend inwards. Taking something like that is from a movie, that is like a special effect that is done in a movie one time for a camera when it's rolling for 10 seconds, and making it happen 1,000,000 times per day, I also think that is pretty innovative in terms of taking these classic magic parlor tricks and making them repeatable on a large scale, day in and day out. That mixed with even all like the splicing of getting the audio correct, or the storytelling. I just feel like I think it all amalgamates into, I don't know how you fail this, even if there's not like one particular thing that is has undeniably changed the amusement park industry. I think the Pepper's Ghost effect, probably you could say, among, like, you know, technological feats that a ride pulls off, it could be among one of the most aped ones out there, to be honest. It's almost in every theme park now at this point. I get the arguments against it, but I honestly don't even think this is a muscle job to pass this bad boy, because it just feels weird to not pass it, given all the illusions and things like that, like the singing bus, even the statues that follow you in the queue, the portraits that like change with like lightning. I just feel like in the spirit of the test, they were clearly pushing the envelope, even if they were using lower fi effects. So I don't know. I personally am going to agree with the jury here. And
I'm with Doug. He says full send, pass it, boys.
Doug says full send, pass it. I'm just going to scan the chat really quickly to see if there's any arguments against it passing. Byron, do you have any thoughts on what I just said while I do that?
No, I agree 100%. This is, yeah. there's too many ways to find reasons for this passing.
I mean, Jake here also says, you could probably pluck out a dozen things that this ride did first in any ride ever. It's such an easy pass. Molly says, I originally failed it, but hearing the arguments for it has changed my mind. And look, guys, that's the beauty of the Kangaroo Court. I know the Kangaroo Court suggests that this is mayhem, but it's very nice to have an opinion on something and then change your mind. Because it's allowed. Unless, of course, we're talking percentages, and Molly, you've already voted no, so that cannot change. However,
and this is why we encourage the drinking of beers to help us with our persuasion.
You can't encourage the drinking of beer in a courtroom.
That was a joke. That was in jest.
Dangerously close to getting your gavel taken away and your wig. Dangerously close. I'll say that. But this is a pass all around. Great. 3 for 3. We're flying here. Moving on to test number 4, the Hollywood test. Could the story or world presented in this attraction be a feature-length movie? This may be the highest percentage I've ever seen on this show. 155 votes, 98% pass. A landslide victory. Let's go over to these top comments. Kate has Muppets Haunted Mansion is superior, and I will not hear otherwise. Although the original Eddie Murphy is my guilty pleasure watch. Haley says, I'm going to say it. I fucking love the newest adaptation. Fight me. Haley, you're going to have to fight yourself there, because I don't even know how to respond to that. And I love Haunted Mansion. Jordana Lunda, obviously it's a pass. And the Muppets Haunted Mansion is still the best one. Brett with 1T, remember when Guillermo del Toro got our hopes up? I do remember that. Thank you for reminding me. And then Joe likes Disney, still waiting for one that does the ride justice. That right there should say it all. Still waiting for one. As in, there have been 3 Haunted Mansion movies made of this ride.
The Muppets got the closest.
The Muppets got the closest, but obviously, like, they had an advantage going in because we already knew, obviously, we're not getting classic Haunted Mansion here. It's the fucking Muppets, so you have to go. It forces you to go in with an open mind. Whereas the new one and the old one, you very much were going in expecting, oh, maybe this will be kind of how Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, maybe just took the parts of the ride, the soul of the ride, and put it on screen in a way that made sense to people who actually love it, while also being its own thing. Haunted Mansion, both of those movies felt like it didn't. Neither. It just. I feel
like they shouldn't have done it in modern times. Maybe that's a hot take.
No, I think if Guillermo was able to do this, I think he'd nail it. I mean, Disco Yeti pointing out Crimson Peak is the movie the Haunted Mansion movie should have been. That's a Guillermo del Toro movie, and it is rumored that he did make this movie because of the Haunted Mansion deal falling through. I don't know if people actually even realize how official Guillermo del Toro directing the Haunted Mansion was. There was a teaser cut together of that movie featuring him at Comic-Con, I believe. You can watch it on YouTube. So they really did think this was going to happen. I'm curious what did happen. My guess, if I had to take one, is probably he wanted to go a little too scary with it, and they wanted him to Disney-fy it a little bit more, and he said, no, I'm going to go back to my cabinet of curiosities. Good day. And then that was that.
They're like, we'll let you do the movie. However, you need to drive a BMW through the window of the mansion at some point, because we still have that deal.
I don't know how this could possibly be a fail. Also, there's so many different pieces of lore of what the mansion is. Like, there's obviously the sea captain lore, and then there's, the lore that they have in the films, as well as many other fan theories, even connections to pirates. Speaking of offhand Disney. So, I mean, this ride has so much lore that there's background lore that is not featured in any of the 3 movies. To put that in perspective, that's crazy. But yeah, no, this is what's the lore for pirates? Jay Brewski asks. Jay Brewski asks, what's the lore for pirates? The short term of it is that pirates and Haunted Mansion, and I believe even Tom Sawyer to an extent, are all linked via John Lafitte, the famous pirate. You see John Lafitte's landing over in the standby queue of Pirates of the Caribbean. Over Haunted Mansion, there is a tomb that's kind of like under the walking area right near the entry point for the boats, the ferries for Tom Sawyer's Island, that has some markings on it that would suggest that it's connected. The two of them are connected via maybe some sort of like underground cavern. Again, Dallin has an incredible video on this. I think it's like 45 minutes.
On Tom Sawyer's Island, right?
On
because I've seen that building on Tom Sawyer's Island. I've seen something Lafitte on it. Like
there are Lafitte markings on all 3 attractions. The tomb I'm talking about is actually outside of all 3. It's in the middle of New Orleans Square.
Oh,
right. Back in the day when there was like the 2 like different platforms of like where you would walk. There'd be one by the Rivers of America, and then there would be more by like what is now Tiana's. But no, there is a theory that all of these are linked via New Orleans Square. But I digress. Anyways, this is very clearly a pass. So let's just go ahead and pass this. Let's not stand on ceremony here. as Bane would say, because that is obviously thematically related to the Haunted Mansion. But let's move on to test number 5, rather. Sorry, the Simpsons test. Now, how likely is this ride to be replaced with something new? We have 156 votes, 79% of the jury voting pass. Let's go to some priority arguments here. We're 4 for 4, by the way. Joe Likes Disney says, the mouse would be catching these hands. And I have to agree that I would have no choice, absolutely no choice, if they decided to close the Haunted Mansion tomorrow. I'd have to find Bob Iger and I'd have to fight him. And dare I say, I know he's in immaculate shape for however old he is. I think he's like 70 or something. But I'm going to say here a very brave thing that no podcaster will. I think I could beat up a 70-year-old. And if that's ageist, I don't know what to say to you, because he took something from me and I'm going to take something from him, his life. Okay, moving. Don't tell Bob that, because I don't want to get, like fucking put in jail or something. Mr. Price says, the world would end first before this attraction is replaced. It's not going anywhere. Strange says, I just don't see an argument here. The mansion is forever. The haunts will live on. Who failed this? Show yourself. That is a good question. Who failed this?
21%.
Sherry Krabby.
The thing is, as the polls went on, while people were polling, it was like getting later and later into the night.
Yes.
And I was going to let you do your imagination, but
Oh no, I'm desperately looking through these priority arguments to find one person who has vocalized why they failed this, because
very hydrated jury.
I don't think so. I think somebody genuinely failed this, and I'm genuinely curious why. Like, without any kind of malice or kind of, I'm not trying to provoke at all here. I genuinely want to hear the argument, because I can't think of how you would fail this. I can't imagine a world in which this would ever be replaced. But I'm not seeing any argument. Let me look in the chat really quick. If you're out there, I'd love to hear you of why you think this will be replaced, because I just don't see how they could do it. Like, aside from even just the logistics of it, the fact that it's kind of in a unique little bit of land and that it goes under the berm, it goes under the railroad, it's in New Orleans Square, which is perfectly themed to what it is, over in Magic Kingdom, over in Frontierland, and they keep adding to it, and they've made movies on it. They'll continue, I think, to make movies on it, despite how many failed. They decided to make another movie about this ride rather than take the ride out, because that's how good the ride is.
Sells too much merch.
Does it? I don't even know if it sells that much merch, because there's not a lot of merch for this ride.
Why would they build an entire Leota's gift shop at the Disneyland one?
That's a good question, because there's not much.
I see a lot of people wearing like Haunted Mansion hats and shirts and stuff like that.
I find the merch to be extremely lacking. But anyways, I'm going to have this obviously as a pass. Byron, do you have a pass here?
Easy pass. Ain't going anywhere.
Hell yeah. Not on our watch. All right, that's a pass. Moving on to test number 6, the sleeper cell test. Is there a sound or soundtrack on this ride that, if heard outside the park, would immediately activate you like the Manchurian Candidate or the Winter Soldier and place you on the ride? This can be music, a specific audio bite, a sound effect, or maybe just the sound of the ride itself. 156 votes, 98% again. Pass. Top comment. Let's go. Oh my god, the top comment is so good. It comes from Birdie, and it's just, hurry back.
Yep.
And then we have Kate, Foolish Mortals, there's no turning back now. When hinges creak in doorless chambers. I mean, that's a fucking bar. The whole damn song is great. Jordana Lunda, of course, There's Always My Way. I mean, Ethan, easiest pass of my life. The theme song is arguably the most iconic original song ever created for a theme park ride outside of A Pirate's Life for me. Plus, the narration on the ride itself is insanely quotable. David and Rachel H., this entire ride would activate us. It's the pinnacle of iconic sound bites, the music, the speech in the stretching room, the ghost host, Madame Leota, the bride at the end. Easiest pass ever. Byron, reactions to that while I hop it in the chat.
Yep. Exitencio bringing heat. You got an entire monologue worth of iconic lines that are extremely quotable, and that doesn't include the music, the whatever goes on during the ride itself. Before you even get on the ride, you got plenty to work with to give this a pass.
I mean, who Kate mentioned, or who mentioned that? Ethan mentioned that this is arguably the most iconic original song ever created for a theme park ride. I honestly think you could say this is one of the most iconic original scores ever created, period. And I truly believe that. How many scores do you think you could play to the general public where you would play maybe the first 4 notes and they would immediately know what it is? And I'm talking rides and movies. It's a short list, and I think Haunted Mansion is on this list. Put it this way, I saw somebody perform Grim Grinning Ghosts at a karaoke bar in Kentucky. So that is how iconic this ride is. And people were singing along because they know the song.
If you play the first note on the organ, you know what it is already.
It's incredible. And I can't think of many other rides in which the soundtrack, the sound effects, the bites, all of that immediately, I'm so clearly in the ride. I could see it so clearly. I think every room in this ride, every show scene, has at least one iconic sound. Like, run through the scenes in your head right now. Every single one of them has a sound that if you played it with your eyes closed, you would know exactly where you are in the ride, if you're a ride head at least. And that's kind of incredible.
Do not lower the lap bar. I will lower it for you, of course.
It's crazy. And then the shadow piano. I mean, they also merge some of the parlor tricks, the illusions, with the sound effects, like the Here Comes the Bride in minor key with the shadow person playing the keys. Incredible. It's incredible stuff. And it's also fun that you could hear still some of the older sound effects that were planned for when the Raven was supposed to be the narrator of the ride back in the day. That's why there's a Raven in so many rooms, because that was supposed to be the narrator, but you could still hear the caw-cawing of that little funny black crow. Let me out of the cache.
Let me out. The bell, like the bell chime ringing with the Leota room.
No, yeah, the creak of the stretching room, the little Leota at the very end. I mean, one of the sounds that I really like is the pushing of the doors, like almost bending.
Yep, the flexing of the door.
That shit is so scary, and you could even hear the growling behind the doors. Like, this is a master class in how to do sound design.
The clock,
marry it with visuals. The clock, the demon clock. It's so good. Even like the little, I don't know if you ever really pay attention to it, but when you're in the Madame Leota room, in the seance room, you could hear every now and then just a singular instrument being played very, very discreetly, which is very fun. So, I don't know. It's just, it may be the best of the best when it comes to this test. For my money, it hasn't been topped. But, I'm a mansion guy. I hunt ghosts for a living, so this is kind of right up my alley. Byron, do you disagree with any of that, or shall we pass this bad boy and...
S tier.
It is S tier. That is a pass. Moving on to test number 7, the premature detraculation test. And I didn't even put the song on because it's too much. I have to do it. It's too...
Yeah, I hear it.
Does this ride finish too soon? Or is this ride a good length? Some rides last too long. We have 157 votes here with, 97% pass. This is dominating. Straight up dominating. We have never seen a ride come into Kangaroo Court and just mop it up like this. There hasn't been one that's even gotten into the 60s. There's only been one in the 70s. This is nuts. This comes from a Disco Yeti top comment. The top comment in the priority arguments has 6 likes, and it's from Disco Yeti, and Disco Yeti writes, "Damn, this ride is so good." You know what? Perfectly said. Mr. Price, says the perfect length. Florida adds some extra scenes. I do appreciate the staircase scene. Pretty cool. I wish it was longer, but I think anybody would say that. David and Rachel H. Selfishly, we wish it was longer, but it's truly perfect. No notes on length. Jay Brewski, I've always wished it was Pirates length, but the story is so good and I'm always greeted by those hitchhiking goons at the end. Kate says, I mean, personally, I'd be happy if this ride was 2.5 hours long, but most people are happy with the 7 minutes. I'd rather ride this ride back to back to back to back for 2.5 hours straight than watch that new Haunted Mansion movie again, for the record. Strange, I think it's a great length. I do wish the graveyard party scene was longer, though. Just so much to look at. Pass. Heart. Byron, reactions to all of that while I hop into the live chat.
It's the perfect length for what it's trying to do. It's kind of hard to dispute it because it's not even like too long. It's not that long of a ride, but it's a great length. I don't know what else to say. There's plenty of show scenes. It takes place on like multiple floors, and that's not even adding the queue.
Oh, one of the comments in the live chat is
after my beer is. Actually, let me check. Do I have any beer here? I don't know.
Amy Teddy Barra says, my husband is next to me in bed, and after the test music, he asked, what are you listening to? I think that's incredibly funny. Looks like, and by the way, Riverside just informed me, because it's always informing me about your guys' well-beings, even after you guys clock out of court, I have you under a surveillance state at all times. It says Puku Clock's network connection updated. Congratulations to Puku Clock. Anyways, I think the reason why this is such a perfect length is because it has somehow satisfied both camps of people. And what I mean by that is there are two camps of people that get on any ride at any time. There's the sickos, which is everybody here, and then there's the just normal people that want to go to a theme park and have a good time. They have somehow figured out a length that, for the most part, has satisfied and made it iconic among the sickos while still not boring the general public to tears. Because I will say, I love Pirates, but I see people snoozing on that ride a fair amount, which is crazy, but it is long. And I don't think you could put the general public through something that's longer than, say, 15 minutes, unless, of course, you're living with the land. But that definitely doesn't test the general public. A little bit of muscle job in there, but there's no muscle job here to be had. No, for sure. I think this is a perfect length that has somehow hit the target that satisfies both camps of people, and that, my friends, I don't think will ever be duplicated. It's honestly a miracle ride. And I say that, I have not said that about any ride that we've ever covered on the show, but I do think this ride is a miracle. Especially because when you consider it almost didn't even happen. It barely even made it past the conceptualization phase. The only reason why it really got pushed forward was because of the passion of someone like Raleigh Crump, who saw the vision of this not being relegated to being a walkthrough attraction and went the extra mile, as well as Mark Davis and all the other folks that were involved in this bad boy. But this is S tier shit, guys. I don't see how you fail this. Let's go ahead and just skip the formality here. Let's pass. Moving on, Byron just cheersed for those of you who aren't watching the video version. Let's move on to test number 8, the run it back test. Is there enough in this experience offered to warrant multiple re-rides? Do you have enough bounce in your step after this ride to ride again? Oh boy. This is 157 votes. This is probably, no, it's not. It's the second closest we've got into a fail. This is 82% pass. Let's move to some top comments here. Moving over to Ethan, there's so many hidden details in this ride that it almost encourages you to ride again to spot them all. Disco Yeti says would and have. Joe likes Disney. Honestly, no. The whole experience, queue, pre-show, another queue, ride, can be quite the time suck, and I'd rather get to go do things I haven't done yet. Slam Johnson IV, run it back to me means getting right back in line. I can see myself doing it twice in a day, but one is plenty when you've only got a certain amount of time. Sherry Krabby Pelly says, I would lap it for hours if they let me stay on. David and Rachel H say, we routinely run it back at both parks. There's always something new to see and appreciate. Thoughts on all that, Byron, while I hop into the chat?
Very generous. I feel that as theme park sickos, it's easier to get attached to riding this over and over again. But I must say, seldom have I ever been with a group of people that weren't theme park sickos that maybe casually enjoy going to the parks and love their one time a year trip to Disneyland. I don't think I've ever encountered anyone being like, let's run this back. Let's do this again.
Oh my
Not even just like right away, but like on the same trip. And for me personally, I'm not riding this twice in one day. I don't do it. So
that was me giving you a little drum tap for that joke you just made.
But 82% of you disagree.
So Jay Brewski said, "Take his gavel away."
You could come pry it from this.
You come pry from his dead
cold stone cold hand.
Here's the thing.
Try and pry the stone cold beer as well.
I'm going to try and be objective here. I 100% see what Byron is saying. I see what Joe Likes Disney is saying. This is a long experience. All said and done, you're looking at an experience, if you factor in average wait time, of probably around an hour. That's a lot when it comes to a theme park day in which time is basically currency. Not literally, of course, because these places are expensive as shit. Yeah, no, it is... I could see why you would not want to get on this twice in a row. That is mainly just I think a byproduct of the length being what it is. I don't think that's an indictment of the ride itself. When you look at the actual content of the ride, much like Ethan had mentioned, there's so much here to experience that it is impossible to miss, or to catch everything rather, on just one ride through, especially if this is your first time. I also think that, like, if you were to get on this ride for the first time in your life, you are much more likely to be like, I got to get on that at least one more time. Especially if you ride it in the morning and you're like, I want to get on it at night. I myself, when I got on Phantom Manor for the first time, I rode it 3 times. So, I could see why folks would maybe not want to do it again, but again, I think this ride is iconic enough that maybe not everybody in your group would be like, I want to get on Haunted Mansion again, but I feel like if there was just one person in that group that was like, I really want to get on this again because of X or Y, or because I want to get on it at dark, there's not that long of a line, I can almost guarantee that every group would be like, okay, I'll hop on it one more time. Going on it right away, like if they said, you could stay on, obviously I think people would do that. But like if you were to just get out of the exit and go back in, you would not go on the ride again if they said you could stay in your Doom buggy.
No.
I feel like
I'm getting a full meal, and I'm very happy with my experience, and I'm good to go.
There's no way. I promise you would definitely say, yeah, you're going to turn down a ride, first off. Let's just start there. Secondly, you're going to turn down the Haunted Mansion. I don't think so, man.
I feel like if you ride it like right away, just staying on the Doom buggy, I'm pretty good getting to my next ride.
Nina says maybe he just thinks it's the perfect length, and then he took a sip.
It is. It's hard to get I think it's really hard to get a perfect score with this rubric, because for a lot of the reasons that this wins points in other categories, I can't get on board with it getting this one. It looks like I'm getting voted out, but...
Well, I don't know, because I'm struggling right now, folks, and I'm staring down the chat right now, and it's a scary experience, because I personally side with all of you. I think this should be a pass. I have ridden this multiple times in one day. Recently, even. And, and yet, the general public, I can't imagine many of them being like, gotta hit that again. But again, I think they could be convinced. So I'm struggling. Am I being objective enough here?
It's for the sickos, man.
I don't think it is, though. I don't think it is just for the sickos.
It's society's fault.
Okay.
Too many kids out there living on their iPads. They get one spin on this, they're just like, no, get me into something else. Get me to
Well,
my
here we
iPad.
go. Here's what I
Society's
think.
fault. Blame it on that.
Why don't you put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it? You son of a gun. I can't believe you made me have to do that. That is unbelievable. I'm not going to see you in person until maybe like 2 days, but when I see you...
You got your wish. You got it to pass.
You made me do this.
Look.
You were my brother. You were supposed to be the chosen one.
It would have been way too easy. It doesn't. I still siding with. I got to give the general public take, and even my own.
I mean, look, you have folks in the chat that are on your side. Jacob, hashtag Team Byron.
Thank you, Jacob.
Obviously not hashtag Team spelling
Holiday,
Jacob normally though.
If it was Haunted Mansion Holiday, I'd ride it all day.
No, you're just trolling.
I'm kidding.
You're trolling.
I wouldn't do that.
Absolutely trolling.
There's a better chance of you doing this.
Really? Oh boy.
I can't.
Okay.
I don't think I've ridden this twice in one day in my life.
Blame my parents, Ryan, to Jacob LMAO. That's fair. That's fair. Let's move on to test number 9. We're at 8 for 8.
I feel like I'm getting a full meal with this ride.
Yes, that is a full meal. Test for number 9, and I'm still hungry, even though I'm full. That's how good it is. Test number 9 is the exit through the gift shop test. Would you, in theory, pick up merch for this ride as you exit through the gift shop? Does this ride inspire you to sport your love for it? We have 157 votes, with 90% passing. Not much of a surprise there, because this ride is pretty iconic. And let's go to some of the top comments right there. I didn't stutter right there. I definitely did not stutter. Let's go to the top comments here. Joe Likes Disney says, anything with the wallpaper on it. Obviously, Joe Likes Disney, referring to the iconic purple wallpaper of this ride, which they sell. I actually think they sell a button-up of that now, which is, that's how much people love this ride. Abby Isn't Cool says, I owned and frequently wore a Haunted Mansion skirt when I was emo in middle school. Kate says, my multiple shirts, themed cups, and my tattoo of the tightrope walker make this an easy pass. Ethan says, I have already bought so much merch from this ride. David and Rachel H, we have Haunted Mansion Muppets pins, so obviously this is a pass, but also the merch they make is pretty dope. Disco Yeti, my favorite bit of Haunted Mansion merch, is a collapsible fan, the type you have to waft yourself with a wallpaper print on it. And most recently, I used it to cool off my crying baby son in a TSA line. That's very sweet. And congrats on the baby. But yeah, let's go into the chat while we react to that, Byron.
I mean, they built a gift shop recently to adhere to the demand of people wanting this merch.
Oh boy, did it meet that demand all right. Everyone loves that shop.
It's not the fault of the ride.
It is not the fault of the ride. But I will say, I personally wish they made more merch, because I'm not the biggest fan of the merch that they have right now. I regularly go onto Facebook Marketplace and type in Haunted Mansion merchandise just to see if I could find some vintage merch that I could snag for maybe like $15-20. It's never up there, but I do see them in there, and they are expensive. But one of these days, someone's going to post it for something cheap, and I'm going to snatch that bad boy up. But I'm actively searching for Haunted Mansion merch at all times. And I will say, anecdotally, this ride, more than any other ride I have ever seen in the world, has more merch of it spread around in Disney Parks fans' houses than any other ride, I would say. I think that's fair. Almost every person's house I've been to who I know is a Parks fan, they have something Haunted Mansion there at the very least. I don't have shirts, but I have some props. I mean, there's so many things that you could get from this ride that are iconic. It's like you could make a top 10 list of like most iconic props from this ride that you would like to have in your house. It's crazy. And I'm sure Etsy is insane. I bought my mom something from Etsy for her birthday that was a Haunted Mansion prop. So
this isn't selling merch to the level of probably like cars or something, but it's pretty high up there.
No, but Cars is exclusively going into like into strollers. You know, this is going to like into the homes of adults. who own the home.
That's fair.
Or
there's an idea. How about this? How would you feel about this, Ryan, if they did an overlay called Mater's Mansion? That would be a horrifying experience for you. Would you be down with that, or is it like too scary?
There's no boo on this soundboard, but if there was, I would be I'd break my mouse slamming the boo button. But there's no
the whole like Claude Coates first half version. You have all the same stuff going, but you just hear the daggum, 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 daggum.
Jay Fruski just said Byron with no punctuation at the end of it. This is. I don't even know what to say to that, and I don't think I should say anything to that because I fear that the more I put that out into the universe, the more likely it is to happen. I hope that never happens with all my heart. That is going to be a pass, though, obviously. There it is, folks. Oh, nope, there is not. There we go, wanted the satisfaction. Okay, we move into test number 10. We are at an unprecedented 9 for 9. Have we ever gone 10 for 10 on a ride in the court?
Oh, like not in the court. We've taken away 10 out of 10s.
We've never gone a 10 in the court?
No.
That can't be true.
We've only taken away 10s, I think.
Damn, that sucks.
Because what? We did Making a Mini, which lost a point, I think.
We did lose a point, yeah.
What else was it? Rise of the Resistance lost a point.
I'm nervous. Let's hit this. Let's hit it. Last test.
I don't know why you're nervous.
Test.
This is like...
Has this ride aged well? Has your opinion of the attraction appreciated or depreciated since your first experience? Or if it's a new ride, do you believe it will age well? Again, 157 votes, 98% pass. What is the math on that? So for there to be at 2%, that means that at least, let's see if I'm doing some quick math here.
3 people?
Probably like 2 to 3 people have voted no on this. And that could be actually some people accidentally failing it, will be my guess. But here we go. Let's go to the top comments. Mr. Price, this is the best explanation of a fine wine attraction. It's never going anywhere, and it's still surprising and delighting guests, young and old. One complaint I have is the placement of the Hatbox ghost figure in Florida's mansion. It completely ruins the flow of that scene, as the ghost host is asking you to take in your surroundings and listen to what's happening. You can't do that with a glow stick-looking ghost just standing there right next to the endless hallway. It ruins the punch of the ballroom scene, since you just saw a ghost down the hall, but regardless, still a masterpiece overall. I want to put a pin in that because that is a nitpick that I have as well, as most of the people on the internet also believe that as well, because it's true. The Rides Enjoyer, great name. Again, if this doesn't close at 100%, someone needs their FYA fourth wall privileges revoked. You'll still get charged monthly, but you're fucking out, bud. Disco Yeti says, in this case, it's the opposite side of the coin as the Tony Stark test. It didn't need to be truly innovative. It's timeless. Joe Likes Disney says, my biggest complaint is the placement of the Hatbox goes in Magic Kingdom. Okay. And Kate says, can this test count twice? I think it's aged the best of any Disney ride, to be honest. The effects are still fascinating and leave people wondering how they did it. The story is interesting and spooky and fun. The details are so meticulous and perfect. You see something new every ride. The updates haven't always been great, Constance, but the overall ride itself is damn near perfect. I'm with you right there, but let's go to the chat while Byron reacts to those.
Oof, they've added, a few of their recent additions have not been slam dunks for me. But the overall, spirit of the ride, pun or no pun intended, or just the overall, all the main effects are still firing on all cylinders. It can't really go into a B mode when it's all kind of simple, just really effective effects. And the bride frustrates me. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really buy it. I think one of the old school brides where it just had kind of the red heart glowing, the really simple still one, was way more effective than whatever they're doing now. That being said, I think this ride has aged tremendously. So yeah, it's a pass on my end, and it seems like a slam dunk for the jury. Yeah,
I agree. Look, this is. I think Kate, and Mr. Price in particular really put it well. There's no, even though the ride has aged in certain spots, the age has actually added to the experience because it's so well maintained and the practical effects aren't that complicated, so they naturally are going to age well. And that's something that you even see over in Pirates, like the fireflies over in the bayou scene. That's just like a little light taped to a piece of cardboard and a string with wind blowing. It's like sometimes you don't need to go crazy, and it will last forever because it's done practically, and because they had to make something that would, be a little bit, I guess, have a little bit more longevity, I suppose, because back in the day you couldn't rely on something that would be easily fixed with something like a computer or a screen or something like that. So I don't know. There's really nothing else to say. That I do believe that this ride may have aged better than any ride out there, especially because they have continually added to it, and there have been some hits and misses, and the Hatbox Ghost thing is bizarre. I think maybe you'd prefer that Hatbox Ghost there as opposed to having no Hatbox Ghost. That a debate could be had there, but in reality, there really isn't anything about this ride that has depreciated in any way. It's a ride that continues to grow in demand and support. They're probably going to make another movie. I think this ride is also like the perfect target hit of telling a story without it becoming too all-encompassing and that it's suffocating the experience. You could either just enjoy it as like ambient scenery, or you could take in the greater meaning of the story. There's no particular way that you have to enjoy this ride because it's always going to be enjoyable. It's a classic for a reason. This is aged perfectly. This is a fine bottle of wine. I'm going to pass this, and just for posterity, Byron, are you going to pass this?
The foolish mortals have all passed it. I'm with them.
Oh boy. And that, folks, is a 10 out of 10. This is actually in my my Rolodex here. I don't know why it is in the media for Riverside, but I'm going to play it just because I feel good right now.
What is this?
This is Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith. This is pretty goddamn good, guys.
You understand?
I feel great.
You understand that if I choose to put this, never mind.
I'm going to change it, Byron. Don't worry. I'm going to change it. Okay. But that's it, folks. That is our first ever 10 out of 10 in World Class Kangaroo Court. And it goes to a titan of the industry, something that has set the path for every ride that's followed in its wake. The Haunted Mansion is officially a 10 out of 10 attraction, as it always should have been. It is a true world-class attraction in every sense of the word. I feel no resentment, or not resentment, I feel no regret in any of the decisions we've made here. I think everybody did a great job.
It joins a very short list of 10 out of 10 attractions. There are a few other ones still out there, but none of them have been a world-class Kangaroo Court. This is the first one to get a 10 out of 10, or to leave world-class Kangaroo Court with a 10 out of 10.
That's true. David and Rachel H. also pointed out that maybe the jury are harsher critics than our guests that come on the pod. And that very well may be true.
Not for this ride, but even Dallin was in support of it losing a point or two.
Yeah, but he cried a little after we pressed cut. I know he told me not to say that, but...
Nah. He was with me on that. I guess back in the day it was the what did we call it? It's the run and back test, basically, but it was the exit or the exit hall test, but similar, very similar.
It's 10 out of 10. I don't care. But anyways, thank you all for joining, and for anybody whose first court this is, welcome in, and happy Halloween. Let's all have a good season.